Hello, everyone. It's that time of the week where I go over my top 10 college football games in the week, and it's rivalry week, so there's a lot of good games, a lot of good rivalries. Let's get started with one that's back now with number 3 Texas versus 20 Texas A&M. Texas are 6-point favorites, primetime game on ABC. One of the, like I said, this is one of the best rivalry games of all time, in my opinion. It was too bad it was gone for a while when A&M went to the SEC, but now it's back, thankfully. For Texas A&M, I know losing to Auburn last week wasn't great, but if they win, then despite their low ranking right now, they will face Georgia in the SEC title game, and if they somehow win that, then bam, they're in the playoffs. So everything's still in front of them. For Texas, if they win, they should make the playoffs, even if they then lose to Georgia in a rematch in the SEC title game. But if you're Texas and you lose to the Texas A&M, then as a two-loss at large, it's not guaranteed that they would make the playoffs at that point, because then in that scenario, Texas wouldn't have any ranked wins. Like, their best wins would be against a bunch of 6-5 teams. Also, Quinn Ewers is dinged up and he's questionable to play. So if Arch Manning has to play, that makes things a lot more interesting for Texas. Um, I feel like Texas is definitely the better team here, but just being at that environment, at Texas A&M, a hostile environment, a rivalry game, and Texas has been playing their best football this season. I just feel like this is a get you game for the Aggies, especially since Aggies are now coming off a embarrassing loss and want to bounce back. So I have Texas A&M getting the upset here at the moment, 23-20. Number 2, you get 24 Kansas State versus 18 Iowa State with 3-point favorites, primetime Fox game. The Farber-Getting rivalry is usually a big game in the Big 12. Before the Holy War came to the Big 12, this was basically the biggest rivalry game in the Big 12, and that'll be the case this year. If Iowa State wins, they're in the Big 12 title game automatically. If they lose, they're out. Iowa State looks dominant early on the season, but recently they've been living on the edge. Kansas State, I assume they will take this rivalry game seriously, since they're not legitimately in the Big 12 title race. I would hope they would play well, because I have a selfish interest in who I want to win this game. To me, this is a coin flip type of game, but I'm just gonna go ahead and go with the logical pick here instead of the heart pick here, and I'm gonna think that just Iowa State, kind of like how last week against Utah, they just find that way to win the game, basically have them winning 27-24. Number 3, you got 15 South Carolina versus 12 Clemson, or 2.5-point favorites, noon ESPN game. These rivalry games between these two teams are actually good when both of these squads are good. And this is a rare year where that's the case. Both squads are good. The playoff committee has done Clemson a solid with their latest rankings. They have a bad home loss to Louisville, and when I say bad home loss to Louisville, I know Louisville's above 500, but when you lose by like 3 touchdowns to Louisville, that's not good. And they have not beaten a team who has at least 8+ wins on the season. However, if they can get their first ranked win of the season against South Carolina here, then they can get that large spot, surprisingly, despite not making the AC title game. I know this game's in Death Valley, but I like the Gamecocks in this matchup. As I mentioned earlier, Clemson, has not beaten very many good teams, while South Carolina has beaten multiple ranked teams and played multiple ranked teams close. I think South Carolina's defense will contain Clemson's offense. And as long as South Carolina can just run the ball a lot like they want to do, whether it's quarterback run or with the running back and Rocket Sanders, then I feel like they should win this game. Either winning 34-23. Number 4, you got 6 Miami, or 11-point favorites, versus Syracuse, through the ESPN game. This is Miami's last tricky test for the regular season. If they found so many ways to win games this season at all odds, but if they don't play their best against Syracuse and lose this game, then Miami does not make the SEC title game. That would go to Clemson, and it would be a hard sell to put them in the playoffs. Syracuse has the offense to be in a shootout with Miami. The only question is, can Syracuse's defense make enough stops? If I had a guess, I would say no. So I would take Miami to once again barely win a game, and punch their ticket to the SEC title game with the winning 38-34. Number 5, you got 8 Tennessee, or 10.5-point favorites, versus Vanderbilt, noon ABC game. With all the upsets last week, Tennessee got a huge break. Now things have aligned to where if they win this game, they're officially in the playoffs. No questions about it. This won't be an easy game to win, since playing at Vanderbilt this year is a tough place to play, and Tennessee's offense can be so hot and cold at times. I think Vanderbilt will give everything they got in this game, but Tennessee will find a way to survive and make the playoffs. I have them winning 28-23. Number 6, we get Notre Dame, or 7.5-point favorites versus USC, 3-3 game CBS. The Irish know that all they have to do is win and they're in the playoffs. With all the other upsets, even if they do lose this game, they still could somehow find a way into the playoffs, although if they lose, I feel like they should be out. Since USC became eligible last week, we'll see how hyped the Trojans are for this rivalry game. Something tells me that Lincoln Riley can get the big upset and then win a bowl game, finishing the season 8-5 and on a 4-game winning streak. Will show everyone that they're on the right track for next year. I think USC plays well enough to win, but Notre Dame makes enough plays to get the win. I have them winning 24-20. Number 7, you got Arkansas versus 21 Missouri, 3.5-point favorites, 3-3 game ASC Network. And this is an underrated rivalry game most years. Missouri needs to win this game and finish the top 25 team and try to get that 10th win in the bowl game. For Arkansas, they just want to finish with a winning record. And if Coach Sam Pittman can finish with a winning record, then he can feel good about his job. I think the Razorbacks will make things interesting, but Missouri at home makes the clutch plays to win. I have them winning 23-17. Number 8, you got West Virginia versus Texas Tech. They're 3.5-point favorites. New FS1 game. This is one of the few games that's not a rivalry game this week, but it just should be a good, interesting game in general. For both schools, they didn't live up to the preseason hype, but at least both teams will make bowl games. I think since this game is in Lubbock, the Red Raiders will find a way to win and finish in the upper half of the Big 12. I've winning 35-27. Number 9, you get Nebraska versus Iowa, her 6-point favorites. Friday night primetime game on ABC. In the past, this game would help Iowa make the Big Ten title game or keep Nebraska out of a bowl game. Neither is the case finally this time around. So with not as much to play for on the line for either team, I wonder who wants this rivalry game more. Since Iowa has played really good football at home this season, I'll take the Hawkeyes to win. I'm winning 21-16. And then last, but you got Georgia Tech versus number 7 Georgia, who are 19.5-point favorites. Friday night primetime ABC game. Georgia knows they have the SEC title game ahead of them, so they can't afford to slip up this game if they want to make the playoffs. Since Georgia is so hot and cold, I can see a scenario where the Yellow Jackets make this a closer game than expected. I think Georgia Tech makes it interesting in the first half, and but then the Bulldogs start to pull away in the second half, get the win, and avoid an upset, either winning 34-20. I know there's a bunch of other rivalry games I left off on here, like Michigan, Ohio State, Washington, Oregon, but it's because there's a big disparity in there. I don't know which team's better and all that. So that's why I didn't include those rivalry games in there like I normally do. But thank you very much for listening to my podcast today. Please subscribe to my channel and show it about me. Thank you very much, and y'all have a wonderful day.